Hi, it's James Harrison with a pet peeve or a discussion point, and I see this pop up on the internet all the time. The top drummers or your Mount Rushmore of drummers. Now, Mount Rushmore in the Dakotas is a mountain with four presidents on it. And if I'm not mistaken, it's Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln, and Theodore Roosevelt. And they're up there for different reasons, and everybody has their opinions on the respect that they have for those different things. And everybody has a different Mount Rushmore of drummers. But if you don't include somebody on who you think yours are, people often get really irritated and mad about it. And that doesn't mean that if I don't include them, that I don't think they're fabulous drummers. Um, if push came to shove and you asked me for four, my Mount Rushmore is going to be drummers that highly influenced me and had a huge impression on me and made me want to follow a lot of what they did. But that doesn't mean that I could easily make that Mount Rushmore twice as big and have 8 drummers or 12 drummers. But I could tell you for a fact, Buddy Rich would be on my Mount Rushmore because I was so affected by him and his ability and speed and stuff and playing with a big band because I studied with a drummer who played with a big band when I was young. So I gravitated to that, and I used to watch Buddy Rich on the Tonight Show all the time because the TV guy would tell you who was going to be on. Now you gotta have access to that stuff 24/7. We didn't when I was young. Another one would be Ringo, and Ringo's not up there for his technical ability. Ringo's up there for his influence. And I became a fan of the Beatles music and trying to copy some of what he did. And to me, especially what I call the middle of the Beatles, when you get to like Rubber Soul and um, um, I'll think of it in a minute, but obviously the ending albums, I felt like he got a little bit more creative when they got more musical and a little bit less pop. And the, uh, you know, some of the grooves that he did were great, and some of the fills especially. And he did things that weren't what you thought the normal drummer should do. And I think that a lot of people say, "Oh, it's easy, it's easy, it's easy." It's not about being easy; it's about being musical. But a lot of the stuff is not as easy as you think, and even if you could play it, you have to play it with that feel. So I have Ringo on my Mount Rushmore as well. So Buddy Rich and Ringo. And now I'm going to throw somebody up there that was a huge influence on me, and that's Steve Smith. And I became first aware of Steve Smith through Journey and Love and Touch and Squeezing because I heard it on the radio. I was a fan of Journey before that, but I was a little bit unsure when they got rid of Ainsley how I was going to be. And because I was an Ainsley Dunbar fan. But the groove and feel of Steve Smith caught me. And then I was turned on to um, Jean-Luc Ponty and his Enigmatic Ocean, and I was blown away by the drumming there. So Steve Smith covered a wide variety of stuff. I love the feel he played with Journey. I love the feel he played with Vital Information. Steps Ahead, Jean-Luc Ponty. I just dove in and became a huge fan of Steve Smith and everything that he was doing. And I could hear subtle things, but it felt like it was really, really open. Actually, in a lot of ways, I compare him to Neil Sean's guitar playing. Neil Sean would play these soaring melodies and everything like that, and all of a sudden he'd start doing this ridiculous, but it still had a feel of being wide open. And I feel like Steve Smith's drumming is that way. So huge influence on me, and probably my favorite drummer of all time. And so he's on my Mount Rushmore. For a lot of people, he may not be. And then another drummer is Harold Jones. A lot of people aren't going to know who that at all, know him at all, and he's played with a lot of people. But for me, the biggest influence was his work with Count Basie Big Band. And for me, I felt like if you want to learn how to play big band drumming, listen to Harold Jones. So for that reason, he's on my Mount Rushmore. So my main four are Buddy Rich, Ringo Starr, Steve Smith, Harold Jones. Now, that doesn't mean that Neil Peart wasn't an influence and John Bonham wasn't an influence, because they are. And Elvin Jones and Tony and so many others. I'm saying for me, growing up, those were my four. And then the respect, that's why I get mad when people try to limit it to four, because I could put up John Bonham once you delve into that and go to his feel and whatnot. Or Neil Peart, once you get into the execution and the way he tried to create perfect parts, like writing an orchestral part that was perfect for what Rush was doing, and then just play that to perfection every time. It's a different approach, but very good. So, and there's so many drummers out there now that are amazing. Thomas Lang's another one of my favorite ones, and Stanton Moore for his feel and whatnot. I could just go on and on and on. But my point is, if you narrowed it down to 4 right now today, Buddy Rich, Ringo Starr, Steve Smith, Harold Jones. Check them out. That's my Mount Rushmore.